Hello, BookTube. I've got a quick Saturday MegaStuff video for you here today. Just a few little bits and pieces that I want to pull together into one video. The first being your tech update. Believe it or not, despite the fact that I am tech illiterate, you get regular tech updates on this channel. I mentioned yesterday that I was starting to have bigamous thoughts about 7 of 9. my iPad smart keyboard combination that I recently got and am absolutely in love with. I love the slightly bigger. I got the 2019 entry-level 10-inch iPad, and absolutely in love with the slightly bigger form factor. The brightness of the screen is noticeably better than my older iPads. And what can I say about the fabric skin keyboard? Oh my, what a typing experience. I do not understand the YouTube tech dudes who say they don't like it. Or rather, I think I do understand them, because they invariably say the same thing. When they're reviewing the smart keyboard, they invariably say the reason they don't like it is because it doesn't feel like a normal keyboard. That's not actually a pointed criticism. That's just an observation. I myself, not being particularly in love with the chiclet-style normal laptop keyboard, was just waiting for something like a fabric skin thing to come along, and I love it. Absolutely love it. My only worry about the magnetically adhered Magic Keyboard for that iPad is that it might not last a long time. I mean, it was only $120, so I'm not sure how long I'm expecting it to last, but nevertheless, I use it a lot. And I have found that modern tech, especially keyboards of any kind, whether they're built in or whether they're Bluetooth or whatnot, don't seem made for lots of use. They really don't. Now, I'm not criticizing them, and I'm not criticizing the tech dudes who make the videos saying that they are, because I realize that I'm a bit of an exaggerated case. I type all day long, or if not all day long, for hours every day. And that isn't what most people do. You see these guys, when they do a video, they always have the well-lit B-roll footage of themselves typing on whatever keyboard they're reviewing, and you can just see they're barely touching the keys, and it's all very, I just had a random thought over a cappuccino. I don't do anything like that. I'm just typing all the time, especially when I'm away to the hounds. When I lose control and just go after something, then I'm just flying away. The only gesture that is gone from the last 50 years is this. The slamming used to slam a bar on a mechanical typewriter that would cause the whole carriage to move back to the starting point. It wouldn't go there automatically. You had to bring it there yourself. And I used to just, oh my, when I was flying along on a manual typewriter, you get to the end of a line, you just bang like that down to the next one, bang like that down to the next one. I used to love that so much. It became an organic way to punctuate your own thoughts. And I don't do that on my smart keyboard, but I do everything else. I do everything short of that. So I may have to replace the smart keyboard anyway, through no fault of its own. But I like to buy tech, and I like to experience tech, and I have, since we last talked, I have been watching a lot of videos about the iPad Pro, the 12-inch iPad Pro. So it's a larger iPad Pro, a lot more processing power than I'm ever going to need. And I wanted it to have that keyboard experience. Unlike a lot of TechTube channels, I actually like the minimal experience of the smart keyboard, which attaches magnetically to the side of the iPad and folds over the front of it when you're not using it. So there's nothing covering the back of the iPad. It's just the metal of the machine. I like the minimalism of that. A lot of channels have criticized that because it doesn't offer any protection for the back of the iPad from scratches or scuffs. I don't so much care about that. I don't, as they put it, throw my iPad in a bag. I don't go anywhere. Nobody goes anywhere. So I don't want the so-called Magic Keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is something where the pogo connectors are actually on the back of the iPad, and the whole back of the iPad is a magnet. So you attach the back of the Magic Keyboard to the back of the iPad, and it sort of floats there, and the keyboard is underneath it. I don't want that, because I like the minimalism of it. And there is, for the Apple, the thing that has my eye now, the thing that has my attention, is the iPad Pro 2nd generation 12-inch from years ago, 2015, 2016, something like that. The second generation with a larger smart keyboard. Not the Magic Keyboard, but the smart keyboard. Exactly the same setup as I have now with a smaller iPad, only with a larger iPad. To see what the form factor is like, and also to see if the added processing power and speed of the iPad Pro will make a difference in my work life. I'm starting to think that maybe it will. That maybe it's capable of a couple of things that my iPad right now can't do. And I think it might be nice. It might be nice to experiment with that. But it is a chunk of money. Even for a second generation, the iPad Pro, I think, is on a fourth generation now. Even for a second generation, it's a chunk of money. I have a feeling that if I were to shop around, I could probably get a second generation 12-inch iPad Pro plus the smart keyboard for about $600. And that is doable. That is not so outrageous that I would just on principle say, "Are you mad?" So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind. And if, by any chance, one of you has an Apple iPad Pro 12-inch from second generation, something where the pogo prongs are on the side so that it supports a Magic Keyboard. If you have one of those, one of you who's out there, and maybe you don't use it, or maybe you've upgraded, or something like that, sing out in the comments field or send me an email. I will happily make you a very happy offer on that thing. If it's just sitting around, I'll offer you money for it. I'll offer you what you could get for it on eBay. Only it'll be between friends. And that way, I'll only have to shop among strangers for the smart keyboard. But anyway, that is your tech update. I am still completely loyal to 7 of 9, but I have the next time I get a sizable checky poo that is not called for anything, I might take the plunge for that larger iPad, because I now that I don't get just one Chromebook after another, my sine qua non, my sort of bottom line for getting new tech, or even thinking about getting new tech, is that it has to be something new. It has to be a new experience instead of just a complete duplication of what I already have. And I have never tried that larger form factor. Much less tried it with a larger form factor Magic Keyboard, so that's on my mind, but it's for the future. The next MegaStuff thing here, only a couple of things. I promise this won't be 40 minutes. Is a bit of am reading, because a book that I got yesterday, I could not resist. I could not resist reading this. I gulped it down right away. I read the whole thing last night, including the stuff in here that I know really well. There were a couple of pieces in here that I knew really well. And including all kinds of authors that I didn't know really well. Like, for instance, the two marquee names that were modern authors. Who's it? Charles McCarry and Jeffrey Deaver. Jeffrey Deaver I've read a few books of. McCarry I've read hardly anything by. And here you're seeing them in short form anyway, and surrounded by names that have recognition value, and that was fascinating to see. McCarry is really talented. And I think some of you might have told me that, but I don't know that I was really registering it until I read him sort of in competition, as it were, with all of these other authors, and finding some of the names in here, thanks to Otto Pendler's genius, are names that haven't been in print in forever, or that are favorites of his, so they will crop up in other big books, the other big book anthologies, but that you'll never find them otherwise. They'll never be revived in any way. Too much time spending time on the latest Henry Green revival. Yay! Anyway, this was an absolute delight. Just an absolute delight. My only real, I won't say it was a problem with it. It was one thing that I noticed, and I'll work out the thoughts more for my review, because this doesn't come out for another month. So I've got time to think about my review. But I mentioned when I unboxed this that there were only a couple of female authors, and that probably went with the territory of doing a book of espionage short stories. And going into that, I thought, okay, well, that's fine. It's not a big deal at all, especially not a big deal on this channel, because we're all friends and you all know what I think about making a big deal out of such stupid stuff. I mean, if I thought for a minute that it was discrimination on Otto Pendler's part, then it would be a big deal. But I know that it's not, and so I didn't need to think about it. But I was curious whether or not those stories would read different than all of their male counterparts, and the huge propensity of the huge preponderance of this book. And it's a little bit disappointing to see the handful of female authors here. I don't know. Their stories weren't bad, but they very much seem to be sort of aping a style of the rest of the stories in the book. And I don't know if that's they're aping a style of a genre, and that the genre is mostly male, or they're trying to write like men. I also don't know if there's much substance in even wondering about that kind of a question. What does it mean to write like a man or to write like a woman? It's a little thing that cropped up while I was reading it. Probably I'll reread it. I'll reread those stories, reread the stories on either side of them, and see if I can sharpen that perception. I think there's an interesting paragraph there on that subject, but by far the bulk of my reaction here was just delight. This is yet another fantastic big book from Black Wizard Crime. There's a shelf of them now that you could make of these things that are just some of the best anthologies going. And that's saying something, because when this comes out in bookstores, it will have as competition, so to speak, one of the longest running and most storied anthology productions in American letters, which is the Best American fill in the blank, Best American Travel Writing, Best American Short Stories, Best American Mystery Writing, Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy. That whole run will be coming out in November, right in time for the holidays as usual. They'll probably have their own floor displays in the American bookstores. And the covers, the designs for the Best American series this year have been totally redone. So they are lovely. They are not. They've always been, from time immemorial, very bland, just blocks of text. And I believe this year they're not anymore. They're really eye-opening, and those are always great. I mean, it's an outlay of money. If you want to get all of them, you're going to spend $300 a year to just get the whole of the Best American series. But boy, oh boy, they are. Speaking as someone who's never paid for one, but nevertheless, they are great, absolutely great. And this will be right there, elbow to elbow with them. That's just fantastic. So I wanted to give you a little am reading update. I read a couple of other things last night, but this stood out. What a treat! What a joy! So I reiterate my sort of informal advice when I opened it in the mail, which is that only now I know for sure that it's true. If you know an espionage fan, a John le Carré fan, something like that, a reader who reads maybe nothing else, get them this volume. Very much get them this volume. Then we've got some mail, a package and a box, and then we'll be done with this little MegaStuff video. A bright sunny day here in Boston. After 2 days of rain and a day of snow, is a bright blue-skied sunny day here, not a wisp of cloud in the sky. And the bright sun and the rising temperatures have saved the lilac tree. All of the heavy, wet covering of white snow that was on top of everything, that's all gone. Now, I get the impression from the Doppler maps that I consult that we might get rain tomorrow, but we certainly won't get snow. So we shall see. But one way or another, it's been much easier. Yesterday and the day before that was a continual battle of wills with my little miniature schnauzer, because she doesn't like to go out in the rain at all. In fact, she doesn't. It's not that she doesn't like to. She categorically refuses to go out in the rain. And snow's not that much better. It's not that much, but it doesn't take her long to realize that when she's walking around in the snow, she is in fact getting wet, and that's the deal breaker. So, but today it was easy. So what have we got? Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Okay, we've seen this already. I mentioned it a few times. What a lovely cover, light green. This is by Peter Godfrey Smith. This is Metazoa. This is the finished copy of Animal Life and the Birth of the Mind. Fantastic. This is, well, actually, let's read about it. We don't have a pub sheet, but we have the dust jacket. Dip below the ocean's surface, and you are soon confronted by forms of life that could not seem more foreign to our own. Sea sponges, soft corals, and serpid worms whose rooted bodies, intricate geometry, and flower-like appendages are more reminiscent of plant life or even architecture than anything recognizably animal, which is what Metazoa is. Yet these creatures are our cousins. As fellow members of the animal kingdom, the Metazoa, they can teach us much about the evolutionary origins not only of our own bodies, but also of our minds. And that the book just goes on from there. Utterly fascinating. Just utterly fascinating. And this author really knows how to tell a story. So those of you who read Other Minds, his earlier book, will know already. You don't want to miss a book by Peter Godfrey Smith, and this one is terrific. And then we have the box. Let's see what we have here. Oh, what are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Some sort of packing list there. I also have the attention of the little bean. She wasn't paying any attention to me nattering on, but now she is, because there might be a box for her to destroy. Huh? That's a big box for you. That's too big for you. Here, come say hi to your fans. Oh. Say hi to your fans. Look at them all. Oh. I was just talking about you. Talking about how you don't like to walk in the rain. Not at all. Today was fine, though. Yes? Yes, today was fine. Snow everywhere on Halloween. But it was fine. One little thing, though, oh my. One little thing that we noticed. Adults wearing costumes. Frida does not approve. At all. Not at all. But anyway. Oh, good God. Okay. Oh, this is a David Murphy book. David Murphy doesn't seem to make videos anymore, but he is still, I believe, alive. And I have not mailed him anything in a while, and this is just, good Lord, this is a guilt trip of a major kind. Okay, this is by Charles Kamich. This is Veblen, The Making of an Economist Who Unmade Economics. Kind of looks like David Murphy, doesn't it? Okay, we don't have a pub sheet. Let's see how far we can get. Thorsten Veblen was one of America's most penetrating analysts of modern capitalist society. But he was not, as is widely assumed, an outsider to the social world he acidly described. This book overturns the long-accepted view that Veblen's ideas, including his insights about conspicuous consumption and the leisure class, derived from his position as a social outsider. Turns out that isn't true. More light here? There we go, just a bit. In the hinterlands of America's Midwest, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Veblen's schooling coincided with the late 19th century revolution in higher education that occurred under the patronage of the titans of the new industrial age. The resulting educational opportunities carried Veblen from local Carleton College to centers of scholarship at Johns Hopkins, Yale, Cornell, and the University of Chicago, where he studied with leading philosophers, historians, and economists. Oh, well, that dust jacket was treading on forbidden territory in the 21st century. Almost sounds like the author of the copy on this dust jacket was thanking those great late 19th century plutocratic capitalist robber barons for setting up a gigantic infrastructure of cheap or completely free education throughout most of the American Midwest. Wouldn't want to do that, would we? Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Afterward, he joined the nation's academic elite as a professional economist, producing his seminal books, The Theory of the Leisure Class and The Theory of Business Enterprise. Until late in his career, Veblen was, Charles, the author argues, the consummate academic insider, engaged in debates about wealth distribution raging in the field of economics. Yeah, this has to go out to David Murphy. First thing on Monday, in fact, I should think. I have a pile of books that need to go. I'll just fill a box, send them out. And the author is the Lorraine H. Morton Professor of Sociology and a member of the Science in Human Culture program at Northwestern University, and an expert on the sociology of knowledge. Veblen. Good Lord. Okay, so those are our two books. Once again, very encouragingly, just nonfiction. Very nice. As we've got Nonfiction November coming up, right around the metaphorical corner. So, but that's great. Fantastic. So that is all I had. That is tech and mail and am reading and a couple of books and whatnot. So I'm going to wrap this up at a nice, neat 19 minutes instead of 49 minutes. Great. Small steps. But I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.